Welcome back to the Short Coat Podcast, a production of the University of Iowa Carver College of Medicine. I'm Dave Etler. With me today in the SCP studio, it's M4 Ananya Munjal.
Hi.
We've got M4 Madeline Cusimano.
Hello.
M3 Nathan Spitz is back.
What's crack-a-lackin'?
For the first time in a long while, it's M4 Mason LaMarche.
Hello, hello.
Mason, what have you been keeping yourself busy with since I last saw you in June of 2021?
Yeah, so I started our pathology externship at the University of Iowa. It's a year-out program, so it adds a year to your education. And you get to spend time the whole year in the Department of Pathology. You train under the same guidelines as the residents do, so we're governed by ACGME guidelines. So we get a lot of autonomy and ability to build skills practicing to be a resident pathologist. So yeah, it's a great program. I'm going to be ending up done in July, so highly recommend it to people who end up coming here. I'm not even doing pathology, and I think it was well worth it.
Oh, really? Why? Okay, so why was it worth it even though you're not going into pathology?
Yeah, I thought I was going to do pathology like all through core year, and kind of late got caught by interventional radiology and really liked it.
Oh.
But I committed to the path externship at that time because I wasn't ready to pick a specialty that I wouldn't have been able to spend much time in. Like, we just don't get that much exposure during the core year. So I thought it'd be a great way to like make sure it's cool for me, and it's a great experience. You get a little bit of money, which is always nice.
Mm-hmm.
So with then going into it thinking, well, I'm going to do radiology, it's something where in radiology, we send a lot of biopsies to pathology.
Sure.
And there's something nice about knowing what's happening on the other end of that and what can you do to make your pathologist's life easier and give them better diagnoses.
Imagine that. Making your colleagues' lives easier. Cool.
I know it's a thing that we should think of doing.
Yeah.
You know, people who are interested in surgery doing it kind of for the same reason. Like, you send a lot of samples of pathology. It's nice to have an appreciation for their work.
Nice.
It can be, unfortunate for patients. What's the most interesting thing that you've seen on the other end?
Yeah, it's right. It's kind of the bad thing about pathology. We say something's interesting or really cool, but we don't mean wow, that's great for this person. There was an adrenal cortical carcinoma that just has these very big nuclei that just looked so absurd and large and kind of started forming shapes. Like, one looked like an outline of the USA, and it was just wow, this is really artistic and beautiful, and also
that's not how that's supposed to look.
That's not how it's supposed to look. You should not have the United States.
It's supposed to look like a nice little circle, not like that.
Yeah, it should not be big and ugly. So that's very striking. We ended up, everyone working on the case ended up getting an additional slide of it, kind of as a once in a lifetime case. So I have that hanging in my office at home, which is nice.
Oh, sweet.
Kind of. It's kind of sweet. It's kind of sweet that I have a body part hanging in my room, but
Thanks for the memes.
It's a little body. It's just a little one.
It's a little bit, yeah.
Do you follow I Heart Histo?
I do, of course.
Of course.
When we have a celebrity amongst us, we have to.
Yeah, Nathan. Is it Nathan Swales?
Yes,
yes.
Dr. Swales is our resident histologist, and he has an Instagram, I Heart Histo, and I guess basically the whole idea is to what's the word when you can see faces and things? There's a word.
Is it
Well,
that's yeah.
Anthropomorphizing,
That's
but that's
no,
what the
that's
linguist
not
said.
It's a specific word that I'm never going to remember.
Okay.
Anyway, he basically posts interesting slides of things that look like faces and motorcycles and whatever.
Sometimes holiday themed too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Valentine's Day, he posts a
Pumpkins.
bunch of hearts that he found in different slides, or they're always themed.
If you need to be quizzed on your histopathology, i.e. M1, M2s, he does iQuiz histo as well, where he'll post kind of guess what's happening here.
Nice. Well, I'm very happy to see you here, Mason, and I'd like to start off today's show by saying to our listeners the words that every top podcast should start their show with, which is, I don't have anything particular to talk about today in this part of the show. I have no agenda, no topic, no purpose, no wisdom. Essentially, we are content free. Of course, I agonized about this a little, and then I decided, you know what? I'm not beholden to the grind. I'm neither puppet nor puppet master. I could take a break from meaning and purpose, can't I?
I like
Amen.
it. I really like it.
What do you think of that?
This is a vibe for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Whimsical, almost.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever take a break from meaning and purpose?
From your own life, 100%.
As medical students?
All the time.
Every lunch, every dinner, that Netflix app
that
opens
time
on that
between.
phone.
Oh, yeah.
My sense of self just dissolves.
Yeah.
Match day hits.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I think everybody sort of pictures med students as being like nose to the grindstone all the time, which is not untrue. I mean, compared to me, where I go home and turn off my brain, other med students are always working. But, I think it's important to take breaks from meaning and purpose.
I agree.
They freaking meant. And what did you self-discover? What did you find in your break?
I found that in comparison to our last show, I was much more relaxed. When I was not struggling to come up with something to say. So, immediate benefit.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
What's y'all's go-to activity when you're avoiding meaning and purpose?
Oh.
Avoiding meaning.
I think I take the easy road most times and like just pick a new show to binge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's deceptively easy to just like open up, and of course I have like so I have a bigger family, so we have HBO Max, Netflix, Hulu.
Y'all sharing your
Amazon
passwords? Is that what you're trying to say?
They're trying to crack down on
I
that.
know,
They're
you're
trying to
screwed.
crack
They
down
are.
on that.
Yeah.
I will fight it. My Apple TV expire, like the free year is up in less than a month. So
Did you watch Ted Lasso before it's
slamming
up?
hard? Yes, I did seasons 1 and 2.
Well done.
What did I just wrap up?
Honestly, Ted Lasso should pay me for the amount of marketing that I do for that show.
Promote it. I will promote it to the ends of the earth. I'm watching C right now with Jason Momoa, and it's really good.
Jason Momoa,
It's
anything Jason
I know.
Momoa.
I didn't find out that he was from Iowa until like 2
He's
weeks
from
ago.
Iowa?
He's a
I found
hometown
out
hero.
a minute ago, second ago.
He's
Wow.
a hometown hero.
Yeah.
Jason Momoa?
Yeah, because it was
Men
like
don't look like
Well,
that.
I guess
in
he's
Iowa.
like we should say he lived in
excuse me.
Iowa. He lived in Iowa.
No,
He was not
except
like-
for Dave.
for
Yeah.
whatever reason, like after the Oscars, he like flew to Iowa, and it was like a slow news day because the Des Moines
Wow.
Register was like, Jason Momoa visits
Came to visit
Tasty
his
Tacos.
grandma or somebody.
Yeah, he was
Oh my
like-
gosh.
And it was just like sightings of Jason Momoa all over Des Moines.
This is like Ashton Kutcher went to like my high school. So like whenever he like went to like an Iowa State game with Mila Kunis, and I remember everyone was about
Okay.
that.
Because people are shocked that people come from Iowa.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashton
Actually,
Kutcher
yeah.
was recruited at the airliner for a modeling agency.
I
Oh.
bet.
Was he was in Fiji or Fi?
Oh my God,
Fi-
was
he
he?
was in one. And anyway,
But like, like no offense to Ashton Kutcher, but like Jason Momoa, like Ashton Kutcher, I can believe he's from Iowa. He like is Iowa hot, you know?
He wears Iowa stuff a lot
Yeah,
too. Like he wears his
yeah.
American Needs Farmers hat all the time.
Yeah, that's
we need to be
believable.
careful when we say he's from Iowa. We should say
You're
he
right.
lived
in
Iowa in some of his
Like,
formative,
yeah.
formative
We don't
years,
claim
but
him. Yeah,
correct.
right.
I also totally hijacked that. How else do you all relax?
Oh, I just look up
Lose your sense of
celebrities who
purpose?
are from Iowa and then freak out.
I think about how much Jason Momoa looks like Dave. Just
Yeah, constantly.
See it, yeah.
kinda see it.
Cal Davo, Cal Drogo.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say you do have the same like very like laid back, quiet, confident energy.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
He just grew the hair out.
Yeah.
Who
Honestly.
knows? Who knows what would happen if I grew the hair
I
out?
know.
I smell Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, so we have just
Oh, yes.
successfully avoided this question
No,
for the third
well,
time.
this
None of us want to answer.
This is because this is how medical students we
This
cope.
is
We just
how-
avoid the
yeah,
question of
I
our
know.
personal lives.
Just pass it on.
I just am struggling. Okay, so avoiding meaning. I feel like I would have a similar answer to Nathan because I really enjoy my hobbies and I'm like very pro like enjoying my hobbies outside of medicine, which I also feel like has meaning. So if I were to avoid meaning, then I probably
anything.
like play on my phone. Like
Doom scroll all day.
yeah, that's kind of my default, which I feel like it's just not, it's never good. But sometimes it feels good to just be like, you know what? I don't even have the energy to like get out a puzzle, which I love doing. I'm just gonna be on my phone for a little bit and not feel guilty about it.
Nathan, I think you travel sometimes.
I
right?
have, yeah, and I think that kind of like to piggyback off what Madeline has talked about is like I find a lot of meaning and purpose in that. in
Yeah,
those
I would agree with
experiences.
that.
Then that doesn't count.
Exactly.
No, I'm just kidding.
Right, right. So
I
that's
was
why I
kinda-
didn't.
yeah,
That's why
I
I
was
didn't
agreeing.
mention it because I do
Yeah.
find like meaning and purpose in getting to like experience, new cultures, new cuisines, new sites, activities, etc.
Well, okay, so maybe meaning and purpose isn't the right term. What it
to unwind,
deriving your meaning and purpose from things other than
there we go.
Your
studying medicine,
I gotcha.
your career.
I gotcha.
I like it.
Gotcha.
Well, I love hanging out with people. We love hosting people, playing sports, playing music.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of my things.
Mason, you haven't had much to say on this.
I don't have much to say, period. Yeah.
Do you?
That's not true.
Mason is always, he always has meaning and purpose. Every act.
Driven by it.
Yeah, 100%. No, I mean, I things I do to relax, like playing music and writing and stuff. I just feel like in med school, it's taken the back seat a lot of times. During the pathology externship, I've had a lot more time for it. So that's been a nice thing this year. It's been way more relaxed. I feel like a person.
That's awesome. I think I've lost track of the question I'm answering. What do I like to do, just generally speaking?
What do you like to do that isn't medicine and has no economic value?
There we go. Okay. Travel has an economic value on me, but it's worth it. Yeah, I think travel is I can resonate with that. I think spending
I should say, like, maybe not has no economic value, but sometimes the definition of value is like, oh, if you're not making money, or if you're not contributing to society in some.
No, I know, I get it. Yeah.
Case in point of like the med student, like we are like semantic, give us the semantics, like
give us
we will.
Exact question. We will give you the exact answer.
I'm sorry, I did not operationally define my terms.
It's good. Yeah, I like travel's a good one. Food is a good one. I'm trying to get better at cooking. That's a new one.
There's this like recent push, I guess, to make all of your hobbies like a side hustle too.
Oh yeah.
And I am very anti that, but also I'm kind of lazy in that regard. So I don't know. People can do it if they want, but you don't, just because you really enjoy knitting doesn't mean you have to start an Etsy shop. Like if you want to, that's great, but I feel like that just makes completely.
That just turns it into a job.
Point of,
I agree.
It turns into a job. Jobs are.
Yeah.
I mean, they can be fun. I'm having fun right now, but why would I don't know.
Here we go. Me getting on like semantics, but is it a side hustle or is it a job, right? Because like if you're going to be knitting anyway, like why not sell it if you're not going to like keep it or donate it? Not that I'm like pro like everything you do needs to be.
I think you have to go
monetized.
I think you have to go into, if you're going to do that, you have to go into it with the right.
Right.
Like right attitude. Like, I'm not going to make bank on this hobby. I'm just doing it for kicks.
Correct. Yeah. And so, I'm not like against, well, and also if people want to try to, kill two birds with one stone, like have this other thing and also, sell it or whatever. But I just feel like as soon as you try to like sell the things that you create, then it becomes like there's pressure. Whereas before you could like pick it up whenever you had time, and now it's just like, okay, well now I really have to plan out my life.
I think also it costs a certain amount of money and time to sell something that you make, and so then it's becoming something that you're like, okay, well what's the bottom line here, like how much time and how much money, how much of my own money am I spending on this thing that's supposed to be fun, and then it could take over.
I would have to ask her what she thought, but I did have a friend who's a year ahead of me. So she was a fourth year last year. And during interview season, she had just, because it was virtual interviews, she had just a lot of free days. And so she started making earrings out of kind of like a clay-esque material. And I feel like the way she did it was really good because it was literally just an Instagram page that she was just selling to her friends, and it was just story sales. So it's just like, all right, if you do this, like, yes, she had to take the time to package and mail them, but there was no like overall structure of the business. And then she kind of stopped when she got to residency. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pro that. I'm pro, like, if you're going to do it anyway, like, you might as well, like...
Just throw it on your Instagram.
It's like, if you want to add, like, a hobby, like, running your... Like, making a website to sell your stuff is even in and of itself a new skill. And if you don't have an interest in doing that, or it takes away from your hobby, like, it's hard. Like, my wife, she sells art, and we, like, went through this whole process of making her a website, and she ended up, like, learning a lot about that. But at the end of the day, like, she just kind of wants to keep making art. So it's tough because once you make it a side hustle, you have to start giving up your hobby time to make the business side of it work.
I agree. Yeah. I do Bar 3, which is like a group workout class, and they're like looking for instructors, and she like asked the like owner asked me if I wanted to like train to be an instructor. And I like really thought about it, but then I was kind of wondering like because right now it's like the hour of my day where I don't have to like think, and I can just, I guess that would be an answer to the question of what you do to like for yourself, whatever we were trying to answer before. And I thought about like doing this instructor thing because I was kind of feeling like that, like, oh, I'm like doing it anyway. I could just like teach instead of, being in the class. And then I was like, I don't know if it's like worth giving up that 1 hour of like mindless.
I assume you have to prepare for class.
You do.
There's work that you have to do outside of.
You have to make the playlist and the whole, like this many minutes of cardio, this many minutes of strength and whatever. So
that would immediately. I did try I went on Fiverr for a little while. Yeah. Selling my voice as a voiceover artist.
No. Did anybody hire you?
Yeah, a couple people, and then I got hit with an annoying client. Who just would not approve the work that I had done. And on Fiverr, the power is all in the hands of the purchaser, and the producer has none. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, well, that was fun until that happened. And now I'm not going to do that anymore because that is annoying.
What was it for? Like what kind of project?
I can't remember. It was years ago.
Okay.
It was like
where you signed an NDA?
No. It was some sort of like, I'd basically just read their copy for an ad of some sort.
Audiobooks. Oh my God, Dave. You could do
I almost had a sweet audiobook gig, and then the guy's publisher was like, no, you're going to do it.
Lame.
No, dude.
He was like, I don't want to do it, but okay.
I can just hear your voice like reading me.
Me too.
Just, like a Goodnight Moon type of.
Or
like
you should
movie. Contact Goodnight Moon.
Yeah.
Were you looking for a
I can hear like a movie. I can really hear you like doing like a In a World type.
In a World.
Yeah, see? I knew it. Yeah.
Put me to sleep. Speaking of like Fiverr, TaskRabbit, things like that, Madeline or Mason, have you noticed like your classmates, now that we, y'all had like fewer electives, virtual interviews, do you know of other people who picked up like spare type of jobs? Like,
oh yeah.
Well, yeah. There's one girl in my class who she went to undergrad here and she served at a restaurant. And one year she actually served every Sunday night. And I was just always so baffled. And she's like, I honestly love it. Like she loves the job, the like hospitality part of it. And it's just it's just a good work environment too. I mean, I feel like if you're at the wrong restaurant, that would absolutely not be worth it. And then when things got really stressful, she quit for like 2.5 years. And then 4th year, she serves like 2 or 3 times a week. And I bet she's making bank.
Wow.
Like, as and it's nice because she already had that job. She didn't have to train to be a server. She didn't have to get used to like a new restaurant. She said it's almost all new employees, but some of the management's the same and the restaurant's the same. So
we had Nathan and I have a friend who worked at like a coffee, like same thing. She did like a shift. Every weekend, she just like worked a shift at this coffee shop, and she did that for a couple of years. Yeah,
you can't work in med school. We had a show about this.
Yeah,
you can.
Yeah,
you
definitely
do it.
can. Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of like.
I started donating plasma. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like that for your friend, but like for our friend, I feel like she felt like it was like not really like work. I feel like it was like a relaxation moment for her, or like something that was like kind of almost done to unwind. So.
I don't know how I feel about. I'm not judging you, but I don't know how I feel about needing or feeling like one needs to sell their bodily fluids for.
I have very conflicted feelings about it.
It
but,
just seems like hard to reconcile with.
Looked up the cost of a U-Haul truck and then looked at the advertisements for new donors, and it was like, okay, I'll do this.
Yo, this is a plug. If you have these in your areas, they often will run like specials for people who sign up.
Yeah.
And I think in like the first 4 donations, like at least here in Iowa City, you can get up to like $200 or $250 just through like 4 donations.
Wow. Right now in Iowa City, it was $150 for the first, $125 for the second and third, and then $150 for the fourth.
Oh, man.
Sign up.
Seriously.
No, and like even if you're in medical school or something, I think that's great. Is like obviously you like can't be doing flashcards or watching lectures or things like that like while you're doing the intake process, but once you're like set up and they are like withdrawing your plasma, like your time is your time.
How long does it take?
Like, it depends. So the initial visits, there's usually like an hour or 2 of like, they'll do like a physical exam, history type of things like that, like once you're established. And then once you're like an established person with these donating sites, I would say it takes maybe like 45 minutes to an hour to like get in. So they'll like check you in, you do all the questionnaires, they'll check your like iron, hemoglobin, that type of stuff, check your weight.
There's a lot of, at least at the Iowa City one, there's a lot of waiting time, which kind of stinks, but that's when I could actually get more done on my laptop and like writing and stuff, because I get distracted because you have to pump your arm when you're donating. So I would rather just listen to a podcast rather than having to like do flashcards and stuff and pump my arm. I don't know. But yeah, I haven't figured out the best times to go, that there's not a lot of wait time, but the spot by the wall chart or the outlet is always open, so I always just get that, plug my computer in.
I'd say like hour and a half, to 2 hours, mate. Like once you're an established person, like start to finish, like you pull into the parking lot to the time you leave.
And I must be really hydrated. Well, and I probably donate a lower amount because of my size, but I can get off the machine in 29 minutes.
One of the most like embarrassing, it was honestly really embarrassing. So they like talk to you about how, I felt embarrassed. They talk to you about how you have to like try and like eat, like low fat type of things before you go in, based on like how they separate your plasma from the blood, etc.
So they're like, this is a milkshake, dude.
Right.
What I just
yes. So I'm like, okay, like I was living in the residence halls at the time. And I, little backstory, I had to like sell plasma because I had gotten a drinking ticket and I had to pay for it all. And I ran out of money because it was the end of the semester. And I was like, my gosh, what am I going to do to like have enough money to make it through? And right, like lo and behold, they have these like plasma. Anyway, so I'm like in the residence halls and I'm like, oh yeah, like I'll have like a nice breakfast of like fruit and eggs and like what. And like that was like it. And I go in and they were training a phlebotomist and they like pull out my like plasma or whatever as it's been separated, and they're like, see, this is what it looks like when there's like tons of like fat in there.
Oh, is it the eggs?
It must have been the egg.
Oh,
it must have been the eggs.
So I ate a hard-boiled egg and like something else for breakfast or whatever, and then I get to the place and it was like list of foods that aren't good, and eggs were on there, and my plasma was fine that day because it was just like one hard-boiled egg I think was fine. But I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that eggs do have a lot of fat.
Oh my god,
in them.
yeah. So
even if they're healthy fat, but yeah.
Shaming you.
I was it was fat. Yeah, like. it was fat shaming.
Oh my
no, I mean like in the plasma, but
literally, literally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are really interesting ethics conversations about this whole process, and I've had them, but at the end of the day, I'm like, they are using it for research. It is going to the ethics of like, should you being paid? Like, is it a forcing people in a lower SES status to kind of sell their body? That's kind of the main clientele. There's a lot of issues.
You're not allowed to sell your organs for that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very interesting conversation, and it's honestly not legal in like most countries.
Oh, well, we got
to get compensated.
This is America. We've got to turn you and every part of you from tip to tail. Everything, every part of your body is a commodity.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason it's in the college town. There's a reason that like the way they do advertising, like indoor and stuff, like it's very targeted. But I mean, at the same time, I feel like it's the same as like sex work or like people who are on OnlyFans. Like it's that's like kind of the same populations, and it's all kind of selling your body in every way.
But also like these are things that are needed. So
yeah.
It's not
and I feel like it is less.
Right.
I guess if everybody was lining up to give their plasma, it would not be something that they would have.
And I feel like it's less risk than blood donation. Not like that blood donation is risky, but as far as just like you get your red cells back, so you're really just kind of losing water when you donate. So it's, if you are taking care of your body and trying to stay hydrated and eat well, I don't think that it probably has a physical toll on most people, which is nice too.
Yeah. And like, I mean, we were talking about other countries. I guess like the model of like blood and plasma donation, like in India, for example, is like, if you have like a loved one in the this is insane. To me, it's insane. If you have like a loved one in the hospital and like they, for some reason, like need like a blood transfusion for some reason, they can like only get that blood transfusion for like an equal amount of donated blood. So like they don't have like donors like we do for like blood, for example. And so like if like I am like AB positive, or like if my relative is like AB positive or whatever, they'll be like, okay, we will give your loved one AB positive if you can like also get us like an equal amount of like blood, whatever blood you can like get your hands on, essentially.
So you don't necessarily have to be a match, but someone basically has to give for them.
Yeah, exactly. And so like when like my grandpa was in the hospital, they like were like, okay, we're giving him like this much blood. And so like my like family members were like, okay, I guess we're all like, they all just are like going in and like giving blood for like equal. It's insane. But like, yeah, point being, there's like no clear good model. And I guess that's just like the system that I know of. I'm sure there's other systems in India and in other countries, but yeah, I don't know. I guess like what I'm saying is like them paying you, I guess to me is a better alternative than just like finding people like last minute to like come give blood in a hospital.
And with blood banking, so part of the Path trip, we get to spend elective time, and I spent 1 month with blood banking, and you become surprised at how much of it is kind of commercial. Like when our patients here need blood products because they can't have general inventory platelets, they need specific platelets, like we buy that, the hospital buys it. So there's a commodity exchange for plasma, platelets, red blood cells, and we're kind of strange here that we still have our own blood bank. That's not a place at a lot of hospitals. So we get like something of 30% of our red blood cells from donors here, but the rest is coming through purchase from local blood providers.
So if you're elsewhere, 100%.
So does that mean like the hospital kind of, that saves the hospital money because it's directly from our community?
Yeah, to an extent. We also have to be careful of it costs money to run that. So I think for us it works out net positive, but for many places it wouldn't.
I guess I don't have like blood bank experience, but like the like men who have sex with men, like why the arbitrary like, oh, it's been like 3 months since you've had sex, like now you're good to go.
Yeah.
Like if if you were to have contracted HIV, like it's not going to disappear.
Exactly, it's insane.
Well, and what's wild
is that
months.
still a thing? I was under the impression that had
well, I think they're working towards it, but
I feel like they've been working on it for at least a decade at this point.
There are more heterosexual, either men or women or both, that have HIV than men who have sex with men in the U.S. Recently,
that
right?
was the UK. So the data you're talking about was like in the UK. But
it
it was like for the first year, more like new diagnoses of HIV were in heterosexual people as opposed to.
Yeah, so that just makes the whole blood thing even more crazy.
Also, like if
who's high risk?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
is
exactly.
it a straight person who has, sex every other night with a new partner, or like somebody in like a monogamous relationship who hasn't had a new partner?
Well, and I would also assume that, I mean, the only people that I know that take PrEP are men who have sex with men.
Exactly. So they would be lower risk, honestly.
Yeah.
Than like, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Did you have any like experience or exposure, Mason, in like the blood bank? And
so things like that are changing. The thing that's difficult is you are working both with accrediting bodies and regulatory bodies. So once something's there, it's tough to change, and that can be for the negative. And they tend to be very conservative. We'd rather lose out on donors than we introduce one potential bad outcome to our donor pool, even if that means we use these discriminatory practices that are probably low yield. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. All of our transfusion med docs spend so much time thinking about these issues. And 4 weeks, I felt overwhelmed with it. But all I got from the donor criteria is like, it's a lot, and like double check all these criteria because it's a never event. You never want to introduce something bad to your blood supply.
Somebody on the show a long time ago suggested that we do a show from the DeGowan Blood Center, like as we donate.
Oh my gosh.
Mobile.
We're like passing out.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't follow up on it, not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't imagine how.
Well, it actually doesn't
that.
take that long to donate blood either, right?
Yeah,
like it takes like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So
if you're doing the whole, I was a double red type of guy in high school.
What's that mean?
So they all like spin out. Oh my God. I honestly don't even remember. It was like, so in whole blood, you take blood cells and plasma. And then in like what they called like a double red draw, they would like take out your blood and plasma, like spin out the red blood cells and then give you your plasma back.
Oh,
basically they're taking extra red blood cells from you because you're of like well enough, like a large enough body habitus, you have a good history of donation, like you don't pass out.
Right, I see.
There's some criteria. Like my mom gives double reds because she like is A, O negative, and B, she just like has never passed out, doesn't get queasy, like always handles it really well. So she always gives double reds.
But when they like introduce the plasma, like that like chill sensation as it like goes like back into your arm, like heebie-jeebies.
I had plasmapheresis, and it was a weird feeling, but I don't know why it was a weird feeling.
So they take plasma that you would have and then give you replacement, or instead of replacement plasma, they can use like replacement albumin to replace that volume.
I feel like it was albumin.
It's most commonly.
Yeah.
So the things that change is like you can warm it a little bit, but it's going to be colder, so it's going to be that sensation. And also part of it is there's a lot of ionized calcium in there, so you can get like tingles in your fingers and mouth. So that's one thing you always watch with people getting that procedure done. But yeah, the whole idea of replacing all the bad things in your plasma, most commonly antibodies that are targeting your own cells,
Right.
and then just kind of restoring it back to baseline. When you do it too, the one thing I love about it is you do this and then you wait a day before you do the second procedure or the next in whatever your series is, because you're essentially allowing the antibodies to diffuse out of your tissue back into this now albumin plasma you have.
Okay, yeah.
And then you do it again. I think that's kind of a cool basic biology chemistry concept.
That was a really big tangent.
No, that's fine.
That was good.
Again,
That was really
again,
good.
we're-
I don't know how we got
Again, we're
here.
content free today.